Hello, everyone. Welcome to 360 Degrees Excellence, where we believe everyone can achieve all-round success. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation with Mr. Deon Braun. And we're going to be talking about sustainability. Sustainability is a buzzword, yet it is very, very important. Sustainability is all about meeting the needs of the present without compromising, the future generation to meet their needs. And I do believe that sustainability is very, very important. One of the best books I read about sustainability is a book that was published by Richard Branson. Richard Branson advocates that people should not only focus on profit, but they should also focus on the planet and the people. Sustainability is based on three fundamental pillars: the economy, the social, and also the environment. Today, I'm glad to be speaking with Dion because I know he's someone that walks the talk regarding sustainability. Today, he's going to be sharing with us how he has been able to reduce his ecological footprint and how he can also do the same. And also, we're also going to be talking about plant-based diets and also urban farming, which, he's into. So without wasting time, let's get started. So the first question I'm going to be posing to him, to my guest today, is for him to tell us about himself. So Dion, can you just tell us about yourself? Who is Dion? We'd like to know you, where you were born, your interests, and some other things that you'd like to share with us. Over to you, Dion.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Firstly, thanks for inviting me to your show and for me to share with your audience. Really appreciate that. So Dion Braun was born 50-something years ago in Newcastle, which is in northern KZN, the province we're in. And my father was a welder boilermaker by trade. He was Austrian, and he was a newcomer to the land. And we were pretty much migrants because we had a caravan, and we lived in several caravan parks, etc. for the first 6 years of my life or so. Spent a lot of time in nature in that time, and some really beautiful areas in Zululand and the north, the bank of the Tugela River. And that's where I developed a deep love for nature and for spending time in nature and the wild. And then growing up, I lived in Zululand in Mpangeni, and again, it wasn't a developed area, so a lot of wild area in the vicinity. And growing up, I eventually matriculated and came to Durban 25 years ago, studied journalism at the UT, and then ended up in a flat in town, and then realized, wow, I can hear nature. She's calling my name again, and I don't want to be in this urban setting. And that's when I decided to move into the suburbs and, start growing more of my own food. So it's been a journey over that time. I really liked what you mentioned there about, ecology and the environment, but you had it in the third place. We've got economy and social. And I think that increasingly we're going to find that we have to have the environment as number one. And I'm not saying that in any way biased, because we need to live on a healthy planet. To be healthy human beings and live healthy lives, we actually live our host in a way. And I don't say that in a way like a tick might, live on a buck or a cat. But we need to really look after and cherish our host. And I think she needs to be number one. And we need to say everything else is based on that. And I think it's wonderful that this kind of thinking is now being shared, because people realize how important the environment is. We cannot have
I do agree with you. I do agree with you. The environment, I can liken to the environment to the goose that lays the golden egg. How do you talk about it? Is it that kind of a thing?
Correct.
So it's very, very important for us to be serious about the environment, because the environment is what is producing what we are eating. So we must really protect the environment, and we must really think about conversation. I'm on the same page with you. You didn't tell us about your magazine that you publish. I know that you are the publisher of Trade Magazine, and it's essay leading digital and print trail running magazine. But recently you stopped the print edition. You know, why did you do that when you knew that stopping the print edition could lead to reduction of the revenue of your magazine? Can you tell us why you did that?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, just to give it a punt, this is the, the print version. The
Yeah,
last two,
beautiful.
this was the last print edition we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
100 pages, etc.
Yeah.
Of content, and then that was at the beginning of the lockdown. So just before lockdown started, this issue went on sale, and I'd been thinking for a long time about what the future of the magazine would be, and I thought this is a really great opportunity to bring that in, because number one, people aren't going to be going out that much, so I've got some plans for digital, okay, and that we can take. It's a risk, but we can take the strengths of the digital format and really push them. So, with print, every extra page, like you can't print one extra page, you can't print two. You have to print them in 16s because a form has got 8 pages and 8 pages. So it becomes very expensive. You have distribution challenges. Not to say that digital doesn't have its own challenges, because people are so used to print. I mean, when I read a book, I still do prefer reading a print book. But, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, 95% of the reading I now do is digital. It's on a screen. I know people still like reading magazines because in print, because it's leisure time and they don't have to look at a screen. They've looked at a screen all day. But I think, as we've done in the latest issue, if we can give them enough content, the latest issue is 240 pages in size. The fonts are larger, so it doesn't extrapolate quite to 240 pages of print. But we've got great stories. It's very engaging, and people can search, they can archive. So the strengths of digital are what we're pushing and we're wanting to develop. I'd like to take it to the next level. But a very good question. Why did we do that? Well, I personally cannot, I don't want to use the words cannot stomach, but I do not feel comfortable talking about, living an eco-friendly life. And we're printing 6,000 copies, and 60% get sold, 40% don't. Now we try and find homes for them. We always traditionally try to find events that wanted to buy them when the current issue went off sale. So that was a strong emphasis, but still we couldn't save every single magazine. We couldn't, like from 6,000 printed, we could not distribute 6,000. They were put out there, but some of them were left in stores and then brought back. And then unfortunately, those would be recycled. So we couldn't get, like if we got 5,000 and a few, it would be great. So we were going to lose maybe, a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000. And that to me is not acceptable. With digital, you don't have those wastes. With digital, you don't have the inks that are being used. And of course, there's the paper and the trees, and then the water, vast amounts of water. So I went, well, okay, this is a risk, but I'm gonna make this stand, and let's see what happens. So sometimes in business, you do have to take risks. You don't always know how they're going to be. And you, as an investing man, you'll know that as well. People who invested in Apple shares in the early days, their friends would have told them, you're crazy. They'd have told them that for years, until eventually they'd gone, you're a genius. You're a genius. How did you know that? How did you know? So, in life, we sometimes have to do that.
Yeah.
So, and
but
I've been told by people, sorry?
You're happy with yourself for taking that decision.
Well, it's still early days. So I'm still living, as you would say, in faith. I'm still living that. I'm still saying, well, this is going to pay off. The sales are lower than we expected, but they are picking up with the new one, with the second one now. They are picking up. And I mean, I'm very transparent with everyone who advertises, etc. that, like this is kind of new, and people are resistant to a degree, but I think the content we produce is very good. And yeah, we're banking on them following us through into digital, all the readers that we had before.
Very, very, very interesting. Apart from, stopping the print edition, can you tell us other ways you have been able to reduce your ecological footprint or carbon footprint?
Well, I would say the biggest as a business person is to try and reduce your well, the travel that you do. So I've been based in a home office since 2003. It never. I was in an office environment for a bit, but the costs are actually no, they don't warrant it. And I think what has happened with Corona is that people have now started
Mm,
working remotely, and more people
mm,
are going like, well, I'm just going to keep working remotely. And I
mm,
think that was something that was a decision I made a long time ago because I didn't enjoy the morning commute. And also, I can be a bit of a workaholic. Sometimes I don't know when I'm going to be working. I might start work at 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. If I wake up and I feel the inspiration, then I'm going to start working. And I don't want that wouldn't be possible in quite the same way if I was working in an office. Yeah, I could work on a laptop, I guess. But to me, like when you want to design or your ideas occur to you, you want to take action on them. So I think the non-commute is a really good thing. You're saving on the fuel as well and the travel time every day. So that one for me is the biggest one. Of course, then the shift now, and then for me, being interested in nutrition, and that interest occurred in my early 20s. My father, he had a very interesting life. He was born in Austria in the 1920s, and then when Hitler came to power, he was drafted into the German army. So he fought in the Second World War, and survived the craziness, the hell that was that time. He ended up in a prisoner of war camp, survived that, and then after the war in the 50s, he started traveling through Africa, and he worked in places like Libya on oil rigs, etc. I think it was mainly actually in the desert, and then ended up in Cape Town, met my mom. So he'd lived that life, and then just as he was retiring, he got sick. He had a problem in his throat, and what it was, he always worked in a very toxic environment when you welding and you're cutting steel, and he was a smoker because in those days smoking was just seen as the thing that everyone did, and doctors were saying, or the adverts were saying, this brand of cigarettes is the healthiest that you can smoke, and it opens your lungs up. And unfortunately, he got cancer of the larynx, and he passed away when I was 22. So that really woke me up to cause and effect. That what you don't know and what you don't believe in maybe still can hurt you, and you
absolutely.
need to be aware of those things. So that's almost like an Achilles heel. Don't let the small things trip you up. So my advice to young people that are in your audience especially is make sure that you have healthy habits now, because if you don't, you are strong now, you feel bulletproof now, but the reality is that when you get older, those things do catch up with you. And even though doctors say, if you stop smoking, your lungs return to good condition, they never return to perfect condition. The tar and those toxins, many of them are going to stay in there forever. They will never come out. Some of that particulate matter does not come out. So just keep that in
Yeah,
mind, because you only see
yeah,
those effects when you're in your 40s and 50s, and then it just gets even worse. Well, so they tell me.
yeah,
But so yeah, that got me thinking about it. So just on the eco thing, I said I'm going to grow more of my own food. I just feel like it. I feel it's the right thing to do, and I like being in close connection with nature. So that for me, and another really big one for me, Torsten, is always ask yourself, do I really need this? Do I really need this? A fact is that I think the LA Times reported that a few years ago that the average American household has 300,000 items in it. So the average American has 300,000 items in their house, which is crazy. And you can imagine that affluent people around the world will be very close to that. And if everyone in the world gets to that point, like I want to own a lot of things, and they're just going out and buying things, for retail therapy, that is incredibly depleting of our natural resources. You can imagine how much plastic and wood and stuff that people just accumulate. So the very big thing I would say to people is ask yourself, do I need it? And then say, I'm not sure, so let me just put that off. And then put off buying decisions, put them off until tomorrow. Be a procrastinator. In life, that's the one thing we should all be procrastinators in, when we buy things. Because I'm sure you'll agree with me. Hey, I need that power tool. You buy it, you use it once. You know what? I actually don't need it again. And then it just gets put on the shelf. And that's a huge, it's a mental energy suck as well. Never mind money. So rather invest your money.
Yeah,
Agree.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. You really shared with us, you know, practical ways we can reduce our ecological footprint. And everybody must really have a plan to reduce their ecological footprint. One of the things I try to do, you know, as a lecturer is, instead of printing notes for my students, I try to just upload the notes on the e-learning platform. They can always access it there instead of just printing notes. When I used to print notes, I used to, you know, print it, you know, front and back to just reduce the amount of papers I was using to print notes for them. But now, as you know, even the university is having that policy of trying to think about the environment, you know, reduce the amount of papers we use. So everybody has something to do, you know. It's very, very important. And you also mentioned the case of not always using your car. And I know you do that. Sometimes instead of driving your car to go and buy something from the retail outlet, you walk there, you know. That's a very good thing to do, you know.
Yeah, I think South Africans especially, Tosin, we've become such an insulated, we're afraid to go out, and we need to be moving more. We need to be moving more. And I mean, to be able to walk to the store and then or run back. Like I'll run there and run back. You know, it's so easy. And I mean, an analogy I heard a few years ago, which I thought was brilliant, was, you know, you have these people who finish work and then they get in their cars and then they sit in bumper to bumper traffic to go to the gym, so that they can sit there for, you know, they can go onto a stationary bicycle for 20 minutes or 40 minutes. And they get back in peak traffic again, bumper to bumper, stressing out. They get home, they feel exhausted. Imagine going, like, you work at home, after work, open the door, run out your front door, go and run in the park, go to the store, buy some healthy food, put it in your backpack, run back. You haven't used any carbon, you haven't used your vehicle, you haven't put rubber particles in the road, which then wash into the sea, which then get eaten by the fish, which then get eaten by humans. You know, there's so many small little ways. And then one little way, you know, I wanted to become an urban farmer, but I want to, and I've never spoken to you about this, but I'd like to challenge your audience. Why don't you consider becoming an urban farmer as well? And if I could tell you, people say, but you know, I don't have space, I don't have time. I'm going to tell you, you don't need any more space than that much. And you don't need any more time than 24 hours. And if I told you that you could become a farmer and you could harvest your first crop in 24 hours, does that sound plausible? Does it sound reasonable? Of course it doesn't sound reasonable, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. And here is your plot of land. Okay? So that is an old, I used to eat black cat peanut butter. I don't anymore. I just eat, it's because it's got too many additives. But anyway, so here, but if you can look closely, those are dried green peas. You can see that quantity, all right? So yesterday, I took that amount, I filled it up, the jar to halfway with filtered water. So that was, actually I filled it up on, today is Thursday, so it was on Tuesday. Tuesday evening, I filled it up, and then guess what I have today? That is the same quantity. So imagine if you put that much money.
It has sprouted.
Yeah, so you put that in the stock exchange. That's your money in the stock exchange. And then 30 hours later, your broker says, oh, by the way, here's your return. I mean, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. And these things are delicious. You can eat them as a snack anytime. And it's actually overflowing. You can find a lot of info. There's a lot of info on the web on how to sprout. But I'd say the green peas are the best. Just to give a plug, that costs a whole 500 grams costs 15 rand. 15 rand. Okay. That's your investment, and you can see I used about a quarter. So a quarter of that, it's going to be like 4 rand. This has given me 4 rand sprouts. 4 rand. You go and buy that in a store, which you can't, by the way, for love or money.
After sprouting, what do you do?
That would cost you 50 rand, at least. And you can see, I told you, it's like 5 rand. Another very good one is chickpea, the so-called humble chickpea. Unbelievable. I would have put that much water again yesterday, and here we go. That's less than 24 hours of soaking, and these are mega delicious. So you can look that up on.
You cook it? Do you cook it afterwards?
I eat those raw. Those are both of those are edible raw. Now you can't do that with all beans, so just check it out on the web. But if you want to become an urban farmer, that is your first step. Do that. Start introducing these. I mean, this would feed somebody for 2 days. I mean, I would eat during the course of the day. I would snack on this, a whole amount of that. I mean, that's good food, and that's good fiber.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Okay, you know, one of the ways to reduce our ecological footprint is to eat less meat. You know, and I know you're a vegan. Can you suggest to meat lovers? You know, a lot of people they love their meat. You know, a lot of meat eaters are watching my show always. So, can you suggest, you know, innovative ways they can reduce their meat consumption?
Yes, okay,
because it's also good for the planet. It's good for the planet if people eat, you know, less meat. It's good for the planet.
Yes.
So we really need to encourage a lot of people to eat less meat.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've looked at some figures online recently, and even with free range, the amount of land that is needed is massive. There's just no point in feeding the plants to the animals so we can eat the animals. There are enough plants, there are enough species of plants for us to be completely well nourished. So yeah, I'd like to just tell a quick story. In 2011, I was very blessed to be invited by the organizers of the Himalayan 100-mile stage race. And they're based in New Delhi. And I got to run in the foothills of the Himalayas, which was an unbelievable experience. You could see Everest, Kanchenjunga, Lhotse. You could see 4 of the 5 highest peaks in the world from the one spot that we were in. It was absolutely amazing. And I came back from India, having seen how, you know, like 1 billion people in one country, 1.2 billion people. It's insane, the amount of people. When I got back, I realized, wow, you know, South Africa, we live in a paradise here. As much as I loved India, but the overcrowding and the pollution. In Delhi, you drove for probably 60 kilometers before there was clear air. You know, it was an eye-opener. But when I got back, after eating some of that incredible Indian food, you know, and the way the humility of the Indian people, and the way they just make do, and the way they find ways to make food taste really delicious, and simple food like the dals, you know, the different pea varieties, etc., and the breads they have was just amazing. I got back and I said, okay, that's it. I am starting to rethink this whole food thing. And then I saw a film called Cowspiracy, which I highly recommend your audience watch. Cowspiracy showed how animal agriculture was just gobbling up land, and it was causing the destruction of pristine habitats, okay, for rangeland. Instead of going, well, let's go and find land that's degraded and we'll build it up, people were going, no, let's just find really cool land and destroy it. And unfortunately, these forests are the lungs of the terrestrial world. We're taking down these forests as if there's no tomorrow. And I went, okay, that's it. Now, at that stage, I think I was still eating chicken. So that was in 2011. And I might have been eating eggs. And my journey was slowly to start dropping them. I also saw a film called Sea, the Truth. Sea as in not sea, but sea, the ocean. And it's a Dutch film in English, and it really showed how by 2048, the experts are saying our seas will have fish in them, but they're only going to be farmed fish. Everything else, it's going to be basically a desert, because we're going to have caught everything. And that's going to mean the death, you know, of dolphins, whales, and all other life that depends on them. And I was like, whoa, okay, I cannot go on with my life the way it is and just let this, and just be one of the, you know, alsos. I want to, you know, like just join in the party just because everyone else is doing it. So I was like, okay, that's it. I've got to make these changes. And so as I would go like, okay, no more normal eggs, I'll buy free range eggs. You know, no more, you know, like, okay, no more chicken, but I'll eat canned mackerel, you know, then like, oh no, then I'll have, and I was slowly dropping these things. So it was a journey. And that time, as you call yourself a flexitarian, I also became a flexitarian. And then I started trying these, these fake meats. So, some of the brands out there make these fake meats. You can buy fake chicken, and fake fish. So I tried that for a few months. And eventually I just got to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm actually enjoying the real food so much more. The whole food. So, not something that you buy in a can. So I haven't bought, a fast meal. I haven't gone to the frozen food section of a supermarket in years, maybe since that time. You just get to a point where your mind says, no, this is not what I'm going to be doing anymore, So, I don't know. Sorry, I hope is everything, can you still see me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can see you.
Phone's, yeah, so it's steps, more little steps. And that is what I would recommend to your audience. If someone's feeling that in their heart, that, I want to make this change, then in your head say, I can do it because other people have done it. And then just know that it's in steps. You're not going to just drop everything, but just start bringing in more of this and less of packaged stuff. So start being reliant on yourself. If like, for example, when Corona happened, I was like, wow, imagine if there is no food supply. And I remember seeing that on somewhere in a book or wherever. There was a strike in the UK a few years ago, and basically the truckers went on strike. All the food in the stores ran out. They were just empty shelves. And I thought, if that happened here, I would be fine. I would be absolutely fine. I would walk into my garden. I would be able to eat for many weeks. And then because plants are so amazing. I mean, a plant, you can go up to cut a piece off it and it keeps living. And it actually goes, hey, well, thanks for cutting me. I'm going to grow two now. I mean, you can't do that with animals. So that's what I love about plants so much. They're just so sophisticated.
Absolutely. I agree with you. People should learn to take baby steps, start little by little, I said that I am 25% vegetarian, I can decide to just...
And there's so much in the plant kingdom. People don't realize that we're omnivores. They're actually missing out because let's face it, when you eat one thing, you can't eat another thing. So just a quick stat is that there are at least 300,000 species of plants. That's 300,000 species of plants. And we can eat, 20,000 of them are known regularly to be edible, 20,000. So, how many species of plants are you eating and how many species of plants am I eating? The average American is eating like 5 different vegetables a week. And one of them is, I think it was tomato juice, So, it's, people are not eating anywhere near what they should for optimal health.
Absolutely. Apart from the fact that they are good for the environment, plant-based diets are also healthier options. So people must always consider, weaning themselves from a lot of beef, a lot of meat, things like that. As someone that started his business at varsity, what advice do you have for young Africans that are thinking of starting their business?
Well, firstly, I know this is going to be advice that some gurus will say is wrong, but I would say if you identify a business idea, ask yourself, is this something that you are truly passionate about? Like, is that fulfilling a need in the marketplace? Okay. So if it's fulfilling a place in the marketplace and you've asked a couple of friends and family, is this a good idea? And they say, yes, it's a good idea. Then look within your heart though and say to yourself, am I truly passionate about this? Because you're going to need passion. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money from this. I'm going to, become famous doing this. No, you have to actually be very passionate about it. Now, I know some people say, no, don't do what you're passionate about. Do what you're good at. Okay. But the reality is you can be good at something, but actually become very bored at it. I think we all know the incredibly talented people who get beaten, who lose titles, who give up just because it isn't satisfying. So it's got to be satisfying for you. So my first advice would be, if you do fulfill those criteria, then go for it. Just absolutely go for it. Don't let anything hold you back and find ways to make those things happen. So I'll give you an example. When I was at Tech, and I was studying in my second year, and I was studying journalism. A third-year student said to me, you know, you've got to be doing this practical soon. And we were talking about, you know, we had to do a magazine, an in-house magazine. And he said, well, what are you going to do after this? And then we started speaking. He said, you should do a magazine on hiking. But I said to him, look, I'm not interested in hiking, but I am interested in cycling. I was really into cycling then. So what happened was I started a cycling magazine. And I got help from 3 different people. One was, and I can just mention their names, was the head of department, Mike Maxwell, then the DTP lab manager, Jude Mathurine, and Craig Sims at Zigzag magazine, who took me on as an intern. So people will find you, you will find people. Just make it happen. So I didn't have a computer. I started my first magazine. I did not have a computer. I had nothing. I had Zip. And basically, I was able to use the DUT computer. And so if you have a passion and you let that passion out and you just let people know that what you want to do with life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, will bring those things to you. So just make them happen by just
Thanks for
taking
that.
that first step. Yeah,
Yeah,
pleasure. Yeah.
yeah. The importance of passion and
Yes,
trying to solve a problem can never be
absolutely.
overemphasized. You know, you've said it all. Passion is very, very important. And
Definitely.
when you're passionate and you're good at what you do, you also be able to find people that will help you, because you also need people. You mentioned the people that really assisted you, the HOD and some other people like that. So people must also understand, I mean, young people must also understand the importance of having people in their lives.
Definitely.
Having good attitude is very important, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, if you want to go into business, you need people to buy your products. So you must also have people skills. You know, people skills
People
are very,
skills are
very
everything.
important. Yeah, you
People
must have
skills
people skills,
are
because
everything.
yeah, you might have a great product, but if you don't
Yes.
know how to relate with people, you know, you won't be able to sell your products. Yeah, very, very
No,
important
definitely.
for them to also understand that. Yeah, very, very important. Thanks so much, Dion, for sharing with us. I've really learned from our, you know, exchange of ideas. I've really learned a lot
Thank you.
from you, and I always learn from you. Maybe we didn't say this. We always work together every morning, and we've been doing it for a few years now. And I think it's
Yeah.
very, very important for us to tell people, to also encourage people to do the same thing, to have healthy habit, to exercise, to go out. Very, very important for us to do that. Dion, what's your closing remark today?
No, thank you again. Before the closing remark, yeah, thank you. It's good to, I think, speak to people and just to keep your mind open. You know, I mean, you coming from Nigeria, different outlook, talking about things like business you were telling me about, um, you know, how the informal sector in Nigeria
Yeah.
just makes it very difficult for some of these chain stores to start. I mean, those are very good business lessons, you know. So, like we said, people skills are everything. And if you don't make people feel like it's a win, then it's just not going to happen. Right, so to wrap it up, yeah, thank you. My closing comment or my closing thought would be for people of all ages, young and old, who are starting business or maybe you are wrapping up business. Remember these words, this phrase, memento mori. Memento mori. That is Latin, okay? And it's something that the Stoics would remind themselves, and even the emperor would employ somebody when he was apparently making speeches, and people were, you know, worshiping him and adulating, and wow, you're the best thing ever. To just have someone standing near him and saying memento mori, and that is remember, memento, and mori means death, or that you will die. Remember that you will die. Okay, now that sounds very macabre, but and also, by the way, just to say, memento mori is actually an artifact that reminds people. So maybe someone who has a crucifix, or someone who has, you know, various icons. That would just, some people have a coin that has memento mori, and that's just to remind them that their life is short and that they must make the most of that life. That it is a gift, and whether you believe in reincarnation or, you know, resurrection or whatever you believe in, that you've got this one journey, like each day is unique, and that each life is unique, and that you should make the very best with what you can. So that is my reminder, or
Yeah.
my just to let people say, every day is a wonderful chance to start again from a fresh foundation, and that don't take life for granted, because life
Absolutely.
travels. Like you're 25 now. I can remember just the other day when I was 25, and I'm in my early 50s now. So time flies, and it seems to go faster the older you get. And you realize
Absolutely.
that each day is a day
Mm,
closer to that big day, and you
mm.
don't know when that big day is. And that, death is part of life, and it should be a celebration, really. I mean, to me, it's like a checkout ceremony. I don't know what's after that personally, but
Yeah.
like we need to celebrate life. So on that very happy note,
Yeah.
that's the
I,
end.
I, yeah, I agree with you. Life is a gift. Life is a
Yes,
gift, and I believe that we must see it as a gift. We must celebrate life. We must be happy for life.
yes,
And I
definitely.
also believe that even if you live up to 100 years, like you say, life is short. Before you know it,
Yes,
you are
yes.
50, 75, and, 100, that kind
Yeah.
of a thing. So
But the main thing
thanks,
is that you
Dion.
eat.
Yeah.
The main thing is you
You,
eat your
you,
sprouts every
you,
day.
it's very important to eat a lot of, pulses. It's very important to eat a lot of pulses, a lot of beans. It's very, very important.
Yes.
Plant-based diets, people should go for it. I love plant-based diets. It's very, very important.
No,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Dion. Thanks,
Torsten,
Dion.
I know, sorry, can I just, I don't know what our time is. Maybe you can
Okay,
cut this. But just
okay,
two things. This book, I'm reading this book now. It has been out for a while,
okay. The
but
road
it's
to zero
upsizing
emissions,
basically.
more jobs,
Yes.
more jobs,
Fantastic
more
book.
income, and no pollution. I would like to read the book. I like
Yes.
that
A
title.
very, a very
You
good
know,
book. A very good
yeah,
book.
very good book.
And then
And
another one is this one.
well-being economy. Okay, that's very, very
Yes.
good. Yeah, very,
This
very, very
guy
good.
was a professor of political economics at the
Okay,
University of Victoria, but he is actually an Italian national. So those are two
yeah,
books that maybe people might want to check out,
it's
just
very, very
on the
important.
sustainability side of
And
things.
yeah, I like that because I also tell people about stakeholder capitalism, that the current
Yes,
capitalism is not sustainable. We have to think
yeah,
about others. We don't have to be selfish. We have to think about the planet. We have to think about the people. So, and I think that's what they're also talking about, in that two books you've shown us. You have to think about other
definitely.
people. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, Dion, for taking time
Thank you,
out of
Tosin.
your busy schedule to do this interview with me. I'm sure viewers, we learn a lot of things today. Uh, on that
Thanks
note,
a lot.
I just want to tell our viewers that they should do something about what we've been told today. Put it to practice. Think about the environment. Don't always think only about profit. Think about the future generation, because we want as much as possible to make sure that the future generation will also be able to live a very good life. We must not think only about ourselves. And interestingly, today is Nigeria Independence Day. And on my Facebook page, I was encouraging young people that they must think big, they must be selfless, they must, think about other people, and they must work hard. And if they do that, the future is bright for them. So I want to wish all Nigerians that are watching me, happy Independence Day. And I wish all of us a wonderful day ahead. Thanks, Dion. See you next
Fantastic.
time. God
You
bless you.
bet,
Bye.
Tosin. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Ciao.
Yeah.